Okay, it looks like we're live on there, and then I will share it to the podcast as well. So, hello, everyone. Tanya Milano here, Pure Joy Parent Coach, with my friend Leah Rupp, also a Pure Joy Parent Coach and human design reader. Okay, it looks like we're live on there. Now I can hear myself. Hold on.
We're echoing.
Okay, I turned my other voice off.
That was awesome.
So I wanted to bring you on because we've done a lot of work over the past year in my program, Om in the Home Revolution, and I'm also taking your course for human design, which has been really, really fun. So I wanted to highlight some of your skills and talents and also get a little selfish reading done.
Love it. Get it all in.
It's the new moon, right? So
yes,
it's like, from what I've listened to, it's a big one, like Aries energy. Yep. And like an eclipse going on and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I'll let you tell us about it.
You got it. So yeah, like you said, it's Aries new moon and it's a lunar eclipse. And this is our second Aries eclipse this month. Or in not this month necessarily, but in this Aries season. Usually we just get one new moon, and because of just the way that things fell, we're getting two. So we're getting a double dose of Aries, and yeah, it's an important one. Well, for one, because anytime that you have an eclipse, it's a really monumental time that usually ushers in changes of some kind in our lives. And we don't always know it on the day of the eclipse, but we can just notice that the energy of the eclipse changed something, really big in our lives. And the days leading up to it, and even the day of. So it's happening late tonight or really early this morning, depending on where you are. So like 10 at night to like 1 a.m., depending on where you are. So we're really in the hours leading up to it. And for everyone, there's some sort of big questions in our lives that are coming up right now. Some sort of big shakeup, some way that we won't be the same after this. And we may or may not be able to verbalize what that is at this point in time, or we might have some threads, or we might have some clues, or we might just feel like we're noticing some things, noticing more and more. A lot of times just the noticing is the lead up to it. So you don't really have to do anything. It's just, noticing what's shaking up. And then the other thing that I'll say is that it's at 29 degrees Aries. So whenever we're at like the very last degree of a zodiac sign, we're looking at like kind of, they call it like a karmic angle. So it's like, or a karmic degree, it's like wrapping things up. It's like the very end of that particular sign. And each degree has, it's like you can go on a journey through each degree. And at 29 degrees, we're wrapping up something. We're clearing up something. So something in our lives that's probably been going on for a very long time is getting cleared up. Yeah.
Exciting and scary and all the things, right? Like it brings up all those, the full range.
Yeah, it's really intense energy to work with, especially Aries energy is fire energy. And anytime that we have a new moon, like we do right now, where the moon goes dark for a time, that's because both the sun and the moon are in the same energy. So it's a concentrated energy. It's like a reset, a moment in time for a reset. So it's a lot of fire energy right now. I'm feeling it. And also we're entering into a Mercury retrograde, and I think it's like in a few days, but we're in the shadow phase, which means that things are starting to break down. So like logistically, things just are going to start not moving as quickly, and we'll start to notice roadblocks or something breaking, or like an example is that me and my kids were inside today, and then my grandparents came by and said that their garage door had broken. They lived just down the street. So my husband ran down the street to try to figure out their garage door. And then my neighbor's puppy got loose. So it was like all these things were like happening at once, like everything was breaking down all at the same time. A lot of that type of energy. You might just notice where it's popping up in your life right now.
Yeah, I feel like there's a communication breakdown
Yep.
between, and I noticed this a lot leading up, like I'm very sensitive leading up to full moon and leading up to new moon. Like I notice it like those 3 days before, and then
Yeah.
something just break, like there's like this release actually when, like I sleep much better actually when it's new moon, like and full moon, because I've released whatever it was building up.
Ah,
Last night I slept actually pretty good. You know, um, and with my daughter, the last few days, there's been um, this communication breakdown. So I'd be
yeah.
curious to see like what's going on with the Mercury retrograde stuff
Yeah.
that's going on. Just a very young place in her, like
Yeah.
regression, like lots of nonverbal emotion,
Yeah.
not a lot of words. So
I'm
yeah,
noticing that in my house too, of like, it feels like, yeah, it's like some very young places. I think we could pull hers up too if you want to. Look at
sure.
hers.
Yeah, and there, even in current events, I try not to get too wrapped up in current events, but I've just been more and more drawn towards, the national news, like all the shootings, and it just seems like there's a ramp up right now
Mm-hmm.
in the collective.
Yes,
So
there absolutely is. And one thing that we're going through with that is that like Pluto, I think probably, if you follow astrology at all, you hear about the movement of Pluto and it moved into Aquarius. So that's where it's going to be for like 20 years or something like that. But we have another like retrograde back into Capricorn here next month. And so it's like we're finishing up some old energy. So things are really ramping up. And
mhm,
as we figure out what's dying, right? Like what's going to come collapsing down, what's going to
mhm,
crash on a structural level. And it's Capricorn, it's like old ways of being old. It's all about, yeah, rigid structures. So we'll really continue probably for a while to see some rigid structures
mhm,
collapse. And we're not quite in the like full energy of what's coming next yet. We're kind of going back and forth.
limbo,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the seesaw, yeah.
Seesaw. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about some breakdowns of what, but I don't know if everybody feels that way. Um, the new world order is coming. No.
Yeah, like it's cool to think it's a really interesting time to be a human. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think our kids really show us what it can look like.
Yeah, so true.
So yeah, I contacted you. I'd be curious to see where 29 degrees of Aries is in my birth chart too. Um, because like I've felt a lot the last, you know, I've been talking to you about, like the last 6 months have been like big, but I think there's something really significant, well, for all of us, but yeah, I've been feeling this massive push to do something new
Yeah,
and not knowing what it is, right? It's like that seesaw you're talking about.
going back and forth. Yeah, it's like sometimes we know that the push is coming before we get the next steps, and that can be really, yeah, disorienting.
Mhm.
I can pull up your chart anytime
Sure.
you're ready. If you want, we
How
can.
are you able to share your screen, or do I have to go?
Oh, let's see if I can.
Yeah, it's working.
Looks like I did. Okay, great.
Mm,
Here's you.
cool.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up one other thing here. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna do it a little differently because what I want to do is see the current transits on there too. So let's see one more time.
Okay.
So I'm going to pull up actually this other chart that has the transits on it. Okay. Okay, now I can do it. Great. Okay. Okay, so here's Tanya. Okay, and you can see sun right here, 29 degrees Aries. The moon right here is at 27 degrees Aries. These are the planets. These on the outside, these green symbols are the planets in the sky. And then everything inside the circle is Tanya's birth natal planets. And then this part doesn't change. And then this on the outside is the astrological weather. So we can see how the two interact is what we're looking for. So yeah, you can see the new moon is right here. It's in your sixth house. And that has to do with like the way you arrange your daily life and your daily routines. And then also like health and body themes.
House
Yeah.
6. That's what the sixth house is.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's in your sixth house right there at the Yeah. So I don't know what that means to you if you notice anything about that.
Well, I think I was talking to you, maybe it was before we got on the call, about my daughter having this different sense of time, right?
Right.
And like the time blindness, that executive functioning skill, some of us,
Yeah.
struggle with, or we haven't developed it yet, depending on her age, right?
Yeah.
But I've just been, that's a question I've been playing with in myself for a few years, like who decides, right, the schedule. And and because I've gone back and forth between homeschooling and traditional school, and there has to be certain schedules if you're in like an institution or you're in a work environment. It's like, yeah, this whole question of entrepreneurship versus working for someone else. So yeah, it's a big one for me, and I think it does affect my body and my health when I'm in someone else's, well, my human design manifestor, when I'm in someone else's energy, right? Someone else's aura, it it definitely affects my health for sure.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool that you made the connection between like that and your actual physical health and how your body feels. That's really fascinating. Yeah. And then that makes a lot of sense, especially for a manifester that, yeah, if you can't be on your own schedule, then how can you follow, the urges as they come? And
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah,
interesting.
family. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's been a balancing act for me over the, motherhood, and my husband's got a job where his schedule changes throughout the year seasonally.
Ah,
So it's like a shifting of my schedule a lot of times.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting for me to navigate all of the things.
Wow. Okay. And something's kind of coming to me as you're saying that um, about so there's these lesser known like bodies in the sky that are asteroids, um, and they don't get talked about in astrology too much, but most of them are feminine. They're like goddess energies. And it's
Mhm.
interesting. I just find it interesting what ones we choose to include and what ones we don't. And if you start to look at a lot of these are masculine not masculine energies, but they're named after masculine figures, right? And then a lot of the asteroids that are feminine goddess archetypes don't get included, but there's one that's really relevant for this eclipse, and it's Eris, who's the brother to Aries, I believe. I'd have to check my mythology to make sure, but she is like a goddess that is like she's like the fierce feminine, you know, like
Mm.
she's like here to protect and serve, but she will use whatever means necessary like to do that. So she's not gentle, right, necessarily, but she is for gentleness and protection overall. But she's yeah, she's willing to kind of use any means necessary to get where to do the right thing, right? To
Mm.
get where things need to go. And yeah, and she's feminine, and she's not the things that we associate with mothering. But
Mhm.
I think, you know, I've been reading a lot of people saying that we've been so unbalanced in our depiction of what motherhood means energetically. We've really valued this certain attribute of the feminine. When you look archetypally, the feminine can be very violent as well. It can be it can be very fierce. And it's not just all receptive and warmth, you know. There are different ways to nurture, and one of them is to rip to shreds whatever is harming, whatever
Mm.
is in the way. And so it just is interesting to me as you say this about like feminine leadership. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how it applies, but it's part of the energy here.
Yeah, it's definitely a question I've been pondering for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And some a conversation I had with my husband a couple weeks ago about what has held me back from leadership a lot is that emotional aspect of myself and um the judgment I've had on it. Like if I'm sharing something I'm passionate about, emotional, how does that look as a woman leader, right? And I think I've told you this before. Um, and Pure Joy and the Safe Seat practice is really helping me to hold that dual awareness of like, I can be fierce
Yeah.
and I can feel the emotion and I can harness it, right? Without
Yeah.
that like wavering voice and the tears at the back of my eyes, like ready to like cower and cry because I'm nervous or whatever it is. I'm feeling that emotion. So yeah, I feel like I've grown up a lot over the last few years with the Pure Joy and the Safe Seat practice. It's like a fierce feminine
Wow.
practice.
Almost like so you would hold back for fear of your feelings. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like how they would affect people or how they would be perceived, or and do you think that comes up with your in your family too?
Yeah, I think that's a projection. And that was, some of the stories that I told myself, conclusions I came to as a child, watching how my mother was treated when she was emotional, right? And so breaking that pattern with my daughter, because she is a Cancer, she is very emotional.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm learning through her like how to really feel that deep feminine energy, right? Like to embrace it
Yeah.
so that I can come back with the fierceness and the passion, like you said, like any means necessary, I'm here to protect
Yeah.
and and share my message to the world, like
Yeah.
through my business and stuff. Like, yeah, it's a big one I'm feeling.
It's a big one. It's a big one. Yes. And it's like a energy that so yeah, we haven't practiced it. And so sometimes when it came out in us, you know, as kiddos or even now, like, you know, like you talk about mom rage a lot. And I know you work on with that in your work. And then of course as a manifester, you work with anger a lot. And
Yeah.
it's something that it's like that's the only times that it comes out is in this just like I'm at the end of my rope and my body literally won't hold this energy any longer. And I'm so curious. I don't know how to do it, but I'm so curious about harnessing it earlier and more often, and
Mhm.
how we intuit, you know, how to fluidly switch between the different expressions of feminine leadership. Yeah. in our bodies, giving ourselves more permission to switch. Yeah. And how, it's messy work, because how do we hold that without, obviously we don't want to cause harm in the way that like the gods of war energy have done throughout time. Obviously that's not where we're trying to go, but at the same time, when we do meet those energies in the world around us, and they're so subtle now in the world around us, but they're still there, like the things that steal our voice and steal our ability to lead our families in the direction that we feel is for the good. All of those things, sometimes we've got to cut through it a little bit more fiercely. And when we feel that rising in our bodies, yeah, how do we harness it? I'm curious. I only have questions.
Read more about Aries. Eris.
Eris, yep, it's ERIS. And I can actually see, let's see, I think I can put that in. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, there we go. You can put that in your chart and see where you have Eris. Your chart.
Oh yeah, and we only have 5 minutes left for today.
Oh my gosh, it's going so fast. Okay, you let me know. I can look up Eris in your chart, or I can do something else. You let me know what feels.
Yeah, that's fine. Since we're wrapping up on this one topic, we'll have to look at Taylor's later.
Sounds good. I'll see how fast I am. I might be able to. Might be able to get them both. Additional objects. Eris, there she is. Okay, chart. Screen. Share. Okay. And with the transits, please. There we go. Okay. Okay, yeah. So you can see there she is in the sky. That's where she always is, And there's, okay, right by, yeah. So we can see she's right by the new moon. And then you have her, okay, you have her at 15 degrees Aries, which is that, yeah, that's really cool. And she's at, right now at 24 degrees Aries. So, and it's in the 5th house. Okay, and then right now you have Chiron is really close. Let's see how close. 16. Okay, right on. Okay, in Jupiter. So this is big for you. Okay, wow. Okay, so Chiron is the wounding in this energy, right? It's getting highlighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, feminine wounding.
Yep. Yeah. And the ways that this particular part of you was wounded, and how it's the wounding, the source of wounding that you carry, and then it's also the medicine that is here, that's wanting to come forth in your life right now. Yeah, it's learning how to skillfully yield this piece of you.
So yeah, and I'm getting ready to do like a motherless daughters group in May. So this is like a really eye-opening conversation for me, that something I've been kind of in the works with another Pure Joy coach, Holly. So this is just kind of giving me like fuel for the fire, the Aries fire. Like, yeah, it's it just seems like, this whole feminine energy.
Also have Mars on Venus in Cancer, which is about, it's about healing women. So it's like you're taking action in your work. Yeah, to be a healer for women. Yeah, and feminine, and the feminine in the world, and mothering themes. So I think we've talked about this before. If not, we should have that. You have this strong energy of working with women as in a healing capacity. Yeah,
Mars on Venus.
Right here. So there's transiting Mars is going over your Venus here. And it's in Cancer. Cancer is about healing on an emotional level. It has a lot of mothering themes, and that's the more, you know, the side we usually often think of mothering. It carries that energy, and then it's in the eighth house, so it's about transformation. So that's why I say that it's about, you have this in your chart all the time. It's just getting activated. So just part of your mission here,
Ooh,
that you're transforming this. You're transforming what it means to be a mother, and
oh
you're
wow.
wanting to work with
This
women.
makes so much sense.
Yeah. So if you're
For
feeling that call, and you're being asked to take some action on it, which you're doing. So, and then this is funny. You have Mars on Venus and Venus on Mars.
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So women, healing, taking action, teaching, transforming. Those are the themes right now.
Yeah. And I deal with this sense of responsibility in myself where I'm like, no, no, I don't want it.
I don't want this. Oh, that's so true. I hear you, Tanya, of like, you can feel your mission coming up and then you're like, no, I don't want it. Yeah. What do you think is the part that, what does that part say that it doesn't
Um,
want?
I think there's just this tiredness that comes up. And it's really about the grief and the loss of my parents and
Yeah.
this young place in me
Yeah.
and being like a parentalized child. It's like I didn't want that responsibility, but there's like this huge calling and purpose that's beyond that, and
Yeah.
these get tiring. So I definitely need more self-care, more body like
Yeah.
body stuff. Yeah, take care of myself.
The rest, the body rest. Okay, yeah, you have that right here too. You just described this. So in your natal Chiron, yeah, and then you have Mercury and Uranus, yeah, and this is in Taurus. So it is about healing, bringing the body into balance, into a
Mhm.
balanced state. And it has to do with rhythm and time, giving yourself time, the pace that you need. So that's something you can carry with you as you do this work. Yeah, is like getting fierce about protecting whatever process. And again, like this is where we haven't quite learned how to use this energy, but it's like something that is up for us in the collective of like how to get fierce to guide so that all the things get done, including what you need. Yeah, including what in blocking. Yeah, being very fierce about your, it's because it's in your daily routine area, right? About like the literal physical ways that, yeah, that it happens, which I know you already work with that a lot, but yeah,
Mhm.
to like
Yeah.
give yourself that rest. Yeah. And then it's about the ways that you're bringing your mission versus what you think the world wants from you. That's this Eris piece, is like you're so about the mission that you run out of energy for the expectations of what everybody else wants you to be. And it's okay if that has to do with kiddos too, that you're not what they what they're hoping for you to be. And that's a hard one. that's that's the one that is like, yeah.
Yeah, that was a great sentence I have to write about the mission and
Yeah.
not the expectations.
Yeah, because it's like
I
people,
love-
that's the Eris energy, is like people want us to be all kinds of things, and Eris and Aries just kind of doesn't care what other people want her to be
Yeah.
because she's too driven. So,
Mm.
yeah.
And that's also a feminine pattern that I'm breaking is like
Yeah,
fulfilling others' needs, right? And expectations.
exactly. Yep. The
And
opposite of that is Libra, which is balance and relationships, and that's needed too, but we know that side very well. So here, yeah, you're over here keeping the balance by learning this side of this, which is, yeah, sticking to your mission, even if
and
other
the
people.
boundaries,
Yep.
setting healthy boundaries, right? And that
Uh-huh.
sometimes that feels very masculine to people, but it doesn't have to be.
No, it's like, yeah, it's just a side of this fierce goddess
Mhm.
archetype.
Well, I guess we need to wrap up for this time, but I wanted to make
Oh.
sure that anyone watching this can find you if they want to contact you about your work. So do you want to just say where to find you?
Yeah, sure. So you could find me at leahrupp.com, and then but the place I'm most active is on Instagram, and it's at Leah Ray Rupp. LeahRayRupp.
Okay, I'll put it in the description of this as well. All right.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.